Alrighty guys, this is Andrew, and welcome back to another Overwatch video. Hope you all had a great Labor Day weekend. Unfortunately, my GPU and Overwatch did not get along, and they crashed a lot, and it was just wonderful. I'll save it for another video. Story time for another time, shall we say. But today I figured I would kind of talk about my experiences with competitive overall and sort of my ideas on how you guys can probably rank up. Now this isn't going to be like a formal guide. In fact, this video was inspired by a Reddit post that I saw where someone was asking players like what is, for people who made a giant kind of comeback from a low rank to a high rank, what's their secret, what kind of strategies do they employ, what are some observations. So just to kind of give you guys a bit of a background, Season 1 I ranked, I think, around 51, 52, which, you know, was okay. I eventually got up to 60 by playing with friends and some solo queue, mixed it here and there. I got cocky, played a lot of solo queue, had a bad run, and got down to 50 within a few hours across a couple of days. It was terrible, guys. Absolutely horrible. I eventually grinded back up to 61. And then Season 1 ended, and then here comes Season 2. Very, very similar story here, guys. Started towards the middle of the pack, 2,500-ish, I think. Went down to 2,400, you know, had a couple of bad games, and then have since grinded up to 2,700, and hopefully beyond, right? One can dream. What is interesting, though, and just going to be like sort of a small tangent, but I think it's worth noting, is that if you take a look at the 2,500 to 2,550 range, and sort of look at it, that range on Master Overwatch's sort of distribution, right, of all the players, you'll notice this abnormally sharp peak at the tip of that bell curve. You would imagine it to be a little bit more smooth, and maybe this is because Season 2 just started, so it's sort of in a flux state. But it also sort of points to the suggestion or the idea that maybe perhaps Blizzard is intentionally ranking people a little lower. Matter of fact, they sort of talked about this when people were talking about, oh, you know, I ranked much higher in the PTR than I am on live. And my guess is that they were seeing that too many people were ranking up in Diamond that maybe shouldn't have belonged in there and just sort of coasting on that tier. You know, never really having to worry about deranking and just sort of, you know, having no progression. Anyways, I guess sort of take-home message, if you will. You know, if you ranked at this tier, around the platinum tier, and you feel like you don't deserve to be in here, don't feel too bad, because a lot of other people also ended up in here, myself included. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. What are the patterns I've noticed between Season 1 and Season 2 that have been consistent? Well, for me, the number one thing is if you're going to solo queue, I mean, obviously playing with good friends who will coordinate with you is preferable, but if you're going to solo queue, you can mitigate a lot of the issues with solo queue by using your mic. Okay? Be that guy to suggest everyone get into team chat, because unfortunately it does not automatically put you in there, which is kind of funny. But not everyone's going to want to talk, right? Some people are shy, some people don't feel like talking or whatnot. But most people, I want to say, are open to at least listening in, which in my opinion is good enough for solo queue. It's not like you guys are going to be best friends forever or anything, but just having that level of communication and callouts is very, very crucial, especially since Overwatch pairs solo queuers against pre-mades. And not that pre-mades have some sort of telepathic communication where they're just uberly coordinated or anything, but at the very, very basic level, I mean, sort of the reason why a lot of people play with friends is that you are kind of ensuring yourself that you're playing with teammates who are at least open to communication or at least listening in. And to sort of level that playing field as a solo queuer, you have to make sure you reach out and talk to your teammates or at least communicate on some level. Another sort of pattern that I'm seeing with me ranking up is know what you're good at. I don't want to use the word maining a hero because quite honestly that makes me cry a little bit on the inside. I saw this on the forums or somewhere, but or maybe it was Reddit, I forget. But basically it says something along the lines of, and I'm going to paraphrase here, is if you're playing DPS, you're promising your team that you'll do a shit ton of damage and that you'll kill things. You know, if you're playing DPS, you're not doing that much damage. If you're not landing your shots, then quite frankly, maybe you're not doing your job, right? As a DPS player, you should be able to, you know, land your shots consistently, make sure the enemy is dying, make sure, you know, you're killing things, but at the same time, protecting your team, right? Gauge the situation, you know, protect your supports if they're getting flanked, all of that good stuff. You have to play as a team. And, you know, just be honest with yourself, right? Like, if you don't possess the mechanical skill needed to aim at least somewhat decently to dish out damage as a DPS player, then maybe that's something you should invest time into and really practice on. Like, for me, for example, I know my McCree isn't the best in the world. Like, I don't have the best aim ever. So I know to myself, before playing McCree in an actual serious competitive setting, I should go to an empty server with bots, headshot only, and just woodshed, right? That's sort of a musician's expression. I guess grind out the aim required to really maximize the usage out of his left click. I know he's got like an alternate fire, but the fan to hammer isn't nearly as strong as it used to be, right? So when I go into a live competitive match, you know, I can be confident that I can land those headshots, that I can contribute to the team with damage. Now, the last pattern that I notice whenever I'm climbing up in the ranks is whenever the team doesn't give up. And that sounds really freaking corny, like never give up, dudes. But like, if you take a look at how Overwatch is designed, there's a lot of built-in ways that a comeback is possible. In Capture Point, you have to win 3 out of 5 matches. There's overtime. There isn't sudden death anymore, but you know there's certainly ties. In hybrid and assault maps, right? The maps themselves have different areas that play out vastly different. I've been in matches where we get stomped for 90% of the map, and this is just solo queue, and people like get frustrated and they want to leave and they just kind of start giving up. But the thing is we get rolled for 95% of the map, but up until like the last sliver of mappage that is left, right? We hold out on defense for like a good 5 minutes, and we end up holding the defense for, you know, that round. And what's funny about those matches is if I look at them, and if I look at my team that was getting crushed in the first half of that match or whatever, like, I would think it's hopeless because they've got no coordination, they're getting picked off one by one. But once we get to like certain areas of the map, I don't know, something just clicks. Maybe our picks are just right, or maybe, you know, the team finally decides to coordinate, or something happens and it just all works together. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is like you'll never know. Like, even though a team may seem shitty at first, who knows, maybe you get to a certain map or a certain part of the map that is just plays out really well for you guys. And I guess I want to conclude this video with a sort of final pattern. I guess it's a sub-pattern in this last point, but whenever your team is doing really, really shitty, don't be afraid to reassess your team comp. Hero swapping, in my opinion, has to be one of the best ways to win games. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. This should probably even be number 1 on this list. But if your hero or your teammate's hero, they're getting shut down one way or the other by the enemy team, countered, whatnot. I don't know, if you're playing McCree, if you can't land your shots, if you're rusty, if you never had the mechanical aim, doesn't even matter. Whatever the hell it is, you know, if you're not doing your job, and this kind of goes back to the earlier point, you know, make sure you swap off. Make sure you swap off to another hero. Maybe that will make all the difference. Like, you never know. I've been in games where the smallest change, one hero, smallest change ever, makes a huge difference. I don't know how to explain it, but just the Overwatch math works out somehow, and we suddenly have much better of a chance of winning. Anyways, those are just sort of my thoughts and patterns that I've noticed throughout my experience with competitive. When I'm on a rise to the ranks, you know, sort of what kind of happens over and over again, reoccurring themes, if you will. If you guys have any other sort of patterns that you're seeing whenever you're on a good winning streak, let me know down in the comments. There's definitely a lot more to this than I'm kind of covering here in this video. Maybe there'll be a part 2. Either way, guys, that's about it for this video. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. Until next time, guys, I'll see you around.